At this point, if you walked in, we were showing some buildings of New York. We did this on behalf of our first keynote speaker, Commissioner Robert LiMandri. He was here with us 3 years ago. He called his team. We got in contact with him about 6 months ago. They are taking this very serious. They are taking 975,000 buildings in New York and applying an innovative approach to everything, and specifically some of the way his department does business. And I'm really pleased and proud to have him come up, travel from New York just for us, and I think you're going to be pretty excited about what he tells you is going on in the #1 city in the world. Commissioner Robert LiMandri.
Good morning. Come on. Well, you know, I have to say that I do know that you care about buildings and technology because it's like 8:45 in the morning and you're here and we're in Las Vegas. I don't know, I would have picked Chicago again because maybe you could get up. But, you know, I will say that we are doing things, and I love to be in a situation like this because buildings and technology, it's where it's at. You know, for the first time in history, the majority of people are going to be living in cities. Actually, by the mid-century, 3/4 of humanity is going to reside and be an urban dweller. New York City is really no different. We've got 8.2 million friends and family at home, and we're going to 9 million. And so what my challenge is making cities. I'm competing on the world stage because business brings jobs, and New York City needs to keep up or excel. Just like you need to make sure that your business owner or your client or your building gets the tenant so the guy down the block doesn't. They generate 90% of GDP is in US cities. 85% of the jobs are in cities in the United States based on our gross domestic product. There's a lot of competition out there, but it's not just competition within the United States. As you've heard earlier, it's world competition, and we've got a lot of work ahead of us. You know, New York City has 75% of all the energy is in buildings, existing buildings, not new buildings, 55% in other cities, and that's because New York City has a great transportation system. So we're kind of already efficient, but not really. The point is that we believe that the focus is going to continue. It is going to change. I'll give you an example. I worked for Honeywell a long time ago, and we talked about how we were taking pneumatic controls, I don't know if we have any engineers in the room, and making them direct digital, and going down into the basement control room and using a PC, and we were going to move the dampers and turn on the chiller. And that was all really exciting stuff at the time. But today we would say this is not groundbreaking at all. And we would say that because it never considered the whole floor. It never sliced it by tenant. It never sliced it all the way down to the user. It never had it in real time at all. We never had that. And you know what? We thought about it maybe, but we thought, geez, it's going to be hard to do. It costs a lot of money. Well, guess what? I mean, you're hearing it today. Most of you know this already. We've got it, and it's easier to do and easier to implement, and that's why I think we are moving forward. But the other thing that really we haven't talked about yet this morning is because there's a drive to change. Maybe not the broker that you normally deal with in your real estate company, because he really only cares about one thing, but the CEO cares. And it's not just the guys who are the sustainable, want to do the right thing, corporate guy. It's the guys, the mainstream is moving. There is a drive to change. And that's why I think things are going to be moving forward. So it's not just them. So what makes it so different? High-speed internet, web, Wi-Fi, smartphone. You guys know all of this already. But it's not you we're talking about. It's we got to move everyone else. And as Jim says, you'll be at the forefront. So it always starts with an idea. 42 years ago, a bunch of people in a park say, we're going to change the world, it's Earth Day. And then, fast forward 20 years, and LEED. LEED is an opportunity for new buildings and now some alterations to actually reduce their carbon footprint, become more efficient. But it's voluntary. It's not required. Then you've got the feds, the city, the states. Well, we really think you should do PV solar. We think you should do a green roof. We think you should hold your retaining water in a certain way, and we'll give you tax benefits. But that's never sustainable. That doesn't stay. That's just to encourage people to innovate, to show the industry that there's a way to go. But the reason why I think it's so important is because we are regulating. We are writing laws in New York City, and other parts of the world have already done this, making rules and saying you need to do business differently. And that's why I think we're at a turning point. So I'll give you an example. In this case, and when you're developing a building, government can sometimes push, sometimes regulate. In this case, the top 4 floors of a building is the most dangerous point in time to protect the people down below. In other parts of the world, they wrap that part and make a cocoon. In this slide, you see at the very top of the orange netting, that is a cocoon. That actually protects the workers, and when you're at 20, 30, 40 stories and a little bolt flies off, not on purpose, it can sail. It doesn't drop on the sidewalk right in front of the building. It actually can fly if it's a piece of plywood. We have moved the industry in New York City to adopt this. So it doesn't always have to be, but you kind of have to push sometimes. So, in 2011, we started to see that financing was starting to come back. We knew that there was an opportunity for people to get back into the ground, create jobs. And what we were going to do, we were going to get people off the drawing board and into development. The best way to do it, the only thing I could think of, we put all the city agencies around the table, you bring in your plans, and we're going to make a decision right there on the spot. And we're going to ask you to bring your developer with you and bring the architect of record and move it forward. And we did that. We did $10 billion worth of business, 1,400 projects. But we realized it was not sustainable. There was no way we could force everyone to come into the room every day like that. We needed to intervene, and whenever you do any of these kinds of things, it really always takes technology. So what we did was we created what we call the hub. And the hub is what I'll call use the Kevin Costner theory. You build it, you make it really easy, and people will adopt. I got a quick vid. That would be now. What is it with that technology stuff? Permits are really important in New York City to make sure that developers, architects, and engineers follow the building code, and that means that it's safe to occupy and that it meets the current urban architecture of New York City. The NYC Development Hub is really about taking the city's development to the digital age. It allows for developers, architects, and engineers to file and submit plans to us digitally. Not only does the architect and engineer meet with us virtually, but it allows for the city agencies to come together, which means no more paper, no more lines, and it gets done a lot quicker. To participate, really all you need is an internet connection and a webcam and the ability to read a PDF. People come in and we demonstrate how easy it is to do. We show them the tools that they need, and they basically run back to their office and figure out how they can do it. If we looked at a set of plans and we wanted to advise the developer or the architect or engineer that they needed to comply with a certain zoning or code section, we could actually go to the digital code section, cut and paste, and it allows us to record comments digitally through some very simple software. There's no real investment by the developer's part, and the city can provide comments on a running basis with lots of detail. A very simple single-family home in Queens has come through the process.
So if I get these revisions back to you right away, how soon can I expect an approval from the DOB?
We're going to try our best.
Within 1 week, they've actually gotten an approval to actually raise the roof on their home and go ahead and go right into construction. We've actually seen very large complex buildings as well come through the development hub, and we're shaving off sometimes months off of the design process because we are able to collaboratively discuss with them, offer solutions, and then make decisions, sometimes on the fly, but more importantly, with the owner and developer there so that they can hear what the particular conversation's about, so they can make a business decision. If we can collapse the amount of time it takes to actually design and approve a plan, that can go right into construction. And we think that that allows for the building's plans to be actually approved quicker and therefore create jobs much more quickly. So we did this project, there was no huge IT infrastructure here. All we did was we assembled things, because remember, not everyone that we deal with is at a very sophisticated level. We have to play to the masses. And so what we did was we used these very simple tools. In this case, we did $700 million worth of business in a very short amount of time, over 100 new buildings. This is the way that we're going to move forward because we have to compete, just like you do. And, our point is that we have to go digital, and we have to intervene with a digital solution because that is the greatest leapfrog that we can make. Because my numbers are huge. I've got to deal with 450,000 plan reviews, 144,000 permits, $10 billion of business is waiting for me to move it along. I don't like to take a conversation or a phone call from a developer in New York. I mean, some of these guys are the people that you work for. It ain't fun, I mean, come on. So, the point is that we have to do things, and we got to do it better. I'll give you another example. QR codes, we talked about it before. I'm sitting in my living room. My wife is talking to her girlfriend, and she's like, look, I just got a new phone. And it's like a smartphone, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, at the end of the conversation, she goes, come on, let's go in the kitchen. They go running in the kitchen, and they scan the barcode, and she goes, look, I can find this product, and I can figure out how much it costs and decide where I'm going to buy it. And I think to myself, well, one, that means we're going to obsess about shopping now all the time. And two, the other thing is that, well, we could use that. And you know what? It didn't take a lot of work to do this. I mean, I didn't tell my boss, the mayor, I didn't say, well, this took a really, this was really complicated. It was, all we had to do is we had to do this. It took longer for us to figure out how we were going to launch it and how we were going to get the mayor to actually present it to the public. Now, when you walk by a construction site, you take a picture, you snap it, it takes you to a very clean sort of, these are some pertinent information. You want to go directly onto the internet? We can show you and we can give you a link and give you the detail. The point is that you got to make it simple. And it doesn't always have to be so complicated. 3D site safety plans, another opportunity. Contractors have been using this for years on the major buildings. They use clash detection, as they call it. They got to figure out how the plumber is going to work with the electrician and the ductwork guy, right? And they all want the same spot in the ceiling. It's a problem. If you're ever on a job site, things happen, right? And there's lots of arguments, and all of a sudden there's lots of change orders. BIM has allowed them, 3D modeling has allowed them to move forward and actually do it well. We just said, okay, add some things that we care about, and then you don't need to file the 2D plans that you do today. This is a 2D plan. This is complicated to read, and it's difficult, but we require it because we're trying to protect New Yorkers. Dense urban environment, we've got cranes, we've got pick zones, we've got deliveries. We have to worry about horizontal and vertical netting. We also have to worry about the hoist. Whenever anything falls, it's a problem. When you look at a 3D version of that, this is what you've got. Now, when you start to use this, it all of a sudden becomes so much simpler. Think about it. I actually have a version of this on my phone. I can put this on a tablet. I can give it to my inspector. He never has to walk on the job site because all he's interested is in everything that's on the outside. He can see it all. And it changes minute by minute, day by day. As they go up in construction, those kinds of things change. So this is the view that you'll get originally when they start excavation. You click on any one of those elements, you can get the detail of what the piles are, what they're made out of, what the construction is. That's the kind of stuff that's going to make us much more efficient. I'm going to give you just a couple more examples. Plan NYC, it's the big Mayor Bloomberg plan to make our city more sustainable. You want to be able to walk to a park in 10 minutes. We want 1 million trees. We want to be able to have a good water supply. And we want to have efficient buildings. In this case, there are many things that we're doing. The one thing that I want to mention is benchmarking. If anyone here is from New York, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The regulators have decided that you need to go online, you need to go onto the EPA website. You have to download all of your information every year, and you have to get a rating. And guess what? The whole purpose is so that you, as a building owner, are now going to have to compete with the guy down the block. So to make it part of the conversation, it's not just about how pretty is the lobby and what is the square foot price that I'm going to pay for rent. It's also going to be about why is this bill for the energy more expensive in this building than the one next door? Because, you know, the CEO, he doesn't know the difference between a heat pump and central chilled water plants and, well, we can give you extra air conditioning if you flip a switch and all this stuff. He don't care. He's like, just tell me how much it costs. And guess what? Operating escalations, we do all these calculations, right? Oh, well, we'll just, it costs more, so he'll pay more. Doesn't hurt me as the building owner. That's what that's there to do. The CUNY solar map, the City University of New York, and the Columbia University Energy Estimate, I'm just going to quickly go through. This is taking, you heard earlier, taking different points of data, layering them, and making them mean something. That's what this is all about. If you go on to, you just type in Google, NYC solar map. You put in an address, it will tell you whether it makes sense for you to consider PV, photovoltaic solar, for your rooftop. Because we believe that there are certain opportunities in New York City, not everywhere, where it makes sense. They've taken the GIS map. They've taken our data of building sizes. They flew basically over and created, with LiDAR, they created this opportunity to figure out the angles of the roofs. I mean, this is like pretty complicated stuff, but at the end of the day, with like 3 clicks, you can figure out whether you should actually call someone or not about solar. That's how you move the market. You make it really simple. Another opportunity, Columbia University, in this case, took GIS map, zoning map, which tells you commercial versus residential, layered on the size of each of the properties at the tax lot level to figure out what each lot should be paying for their energy. Now, that doesn't really do much, but if you layer on and think more globally, today when you do zoning, you're looking for transportation, you're looking for how people can get to and from work, you're looking for a mix of use, you're looking for aesthetics. You never talk about, well, is there the potential of a gas line in the street that could provide for the opportunity for combined heat and power, CHP as we call it. There are parts of New York City where that's not available. But you, block by block, if you get further down, you could actually do that. They're doing it in places like Copenhagen. That's how they do it there. In places like Australia, they've figured it out. So the point is that there are lots of things we can do, and we do think that we can offer. And that's what this is all about. You should go into the room next door. You should talk to your colleagues. I'm telling you that cities have to innovate, and they have to use the information and serve it up in a way that people can use it. And that's part of Mayor Bloomberg's plan to move information out into the hands, making it open and not proprietary. Right? So the whole point is that when I was talking about Honeywell, and there are other companies that do this, is that if you can't let me see the code and you can't let me see the algorithm, how can we actually tie in these other pieces? Because really what I need to do is not just shave the cliffs on the demand curve for electric. I need to get the whole curve down. And and the only way to squeeze it out, as Jim talks about, is to go all the way down to the guy. I need to know who's really there that day. You know, I ran buildings in New York City. I know how it goes. The CEO walks in, and he walks in on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and he comes in at 7 o'clock. And don't you tell me that the guy in the basement who runs the shows, he knows it too. And guess what? That lobby is a chilled 65 on a hot summer day. But that's not the way you run buildings. And I think, and I know that you know this already, I think that we're on the verge of something new, where people, the CEO knows that he needs to be more corporate responsible, and the data is there, we just need to harness it. So good luck, and do me one favor, don't listen to the commercial. You should take something home from Vegas. Thanks very much.
Okay, folks, please stay. There's more. Now, you know, I realize that it's been kind of a long session so far, and your energy may be waning a little bit. So we've come up with an idea. It's a group exercise that's designed to get you refreshed and refocused and present again. It's called parkour. And before we actually do it together, we've designed a little video to help show you how it's done. Wait. Hold on. Wrong video. This is how not to do parkour. Guys, let's get the right one.
Successful girl than ever. After our work is never over. After is never over.
Hardcore parkour! Hardcore parkour! I'm right behind you,